Welcome to Mystic Dragonfly Garden. Today in the garden we are going to be adding some plants to this area known as Sunset Whisper Grove. Now I call this Sunset Whisper Grove because all of the colors in this garden bed are blues and peaches and pinks and oranges, colors you would expect to find in a gorgeous sunset. So this bed is the newest, or one of the newest beds to Dragonfly Garden, and it was very much in need of some TLC. The weed battle has been extreme in this garden bed, and so I've gotten the weeds taken care of. I've gotten cardboard down amongst all the plants, and then after we get these guys in the ground, then I will get the mulch down, and this bed will be ready for the 2025 flower season. So in this garden bed we have a drift of 5 At-Last roses, and I lost one last year, so this At-Last rose is just to replace the one that I lost. Now if you have never experienced an At-Last rose, then you are definitely missing out. This is the most fragrant rose I think I have ever sniffed. You can be in the garden and you just get this wonderful smell that just drifts your way, and you're like, what in the world is that? That is absolutely amazing. And it will be your At-Last rose. So if you're walking through a garden center, then go ahead and take a sniff if they carry this At-Last rose. This rose gets to be about 3 feet tall and wide, and as most roses are, they like full sun, and it is hardy to zones 5 through 9. The next thing we will be adding is this Morning Sun Calla Lily. I was excited to find this. I had bought this last year and didn't get it in the ground, and was really kind of sad that I had lost it, letting it overwinter in the pots outside. I should have brought them in. But the Morning Sun Calla Lily will be 10 to 36 inches tall and appreciates morning sun, which this bed does get morning sun. Calla lilies for me generally do end up being every bit of 36 inches tall, and they do come back here in this zone 7B garden. We also have this 4-pack of the Arizona Sun blanket flower, adding some more orange and yellow appropriately to this Sunset Whisper Grove garden bed. And blanket flowers, these can be expected to get about 12 inches high and about 12 inches wide. Now, my experience with blanket flowers is they actually double in this size. They must be very happy in Zone 7B garden beds, but I've got a 4-pack of those. I also picked up these double Sahara salmon colored zinnias. Now these are a shorter zinnia. They will be 16 to 20 inches tall, so I will have to keep them further up front than I actually was expecting to plant them, but that's okay. We will find space for these salmon zinnias. I'm looking forward to seeing those bloom. And then I did pick up this Creeping Charlie, and yes, I'm aware of how much of a ground cover Creeping Charlie can be. I do have it that volunteers itself in just the solid green, and it does spread, but it's not too invasive. I mean, I do appreciate it as a ground cover. What I struggle with is I actually struggle with the wild strawberries, and although I do love those as a ground cover as well, they actually do choke some other things out. But I've not had that experience with Creeping Charlie, so I thought about adding it in this bed. I'm not sure. I may add this somewhere else where I really do need some ground cover. So we will see about that. I do have variegated plants in this garden bed, and the variegation is the white and the green, so I'm trying to stick with that if I find anything that's variegated. So we'll see what happens with this one. We will also be adding an eclipse hydrangea. I do have one of these in this bed, and it sits under this monstrosity of a butterfly bush, so it will be in the shade. Eclipse hydrangeas do like morning sun and afternoon shade, and they get to be 3 to 5 feet high and about 3 to 5 feet wide. This one is obviously ahead of the game because it was sold in a pot, but you can see the flowers here, which are very appropriate for the idea of a sunset in the garden. So I'll be adding that. And then I do have this barrel pot, which I do add annuals, but I do have a perennial grass, and I don't quite remember which one it is. There's a snapdragon that is making an appearance behind there. I have added annuals in here, and I do like doing that, but I'm going to be adding a few more perennials so that maybe I can just add like one annual and help with the budget, the flower budget. So we are going to be adding this pink profusion salvia. It's got this mauvish, pinkish color to it, which does lend itself to the color scheme in this garden bed. And pink profusion salvia is 14 to 16 inches tall and 16 to 20 inches wide. So we will be adding that to this barrel pot. Here we have everything waking up and lots of cardboard. So there is the before. When we get everything planted and mulched, we will come back for a more thorough garden bed tour. Let's get to work. Now I do have to move this hosta that I planted here in order to put my other eclipse hydrangea. This is Hope Springs Eternal. And looks like actually I could go ahead and divide this and make two. But we'll just set this aside for right now. Dig a bigger hole for this eclipse hydrangea. I thought this color combination would be really pretty. This butterfly bush, I bought it as a 1 gallon last year, and it just was labeled yellow butterfly bush. I had no idea it would be the beast that it is. It actually got to be about 10 feet tall and about 6 or 7 feet wide, and turned this corner into a shade corner for sure. So I know in the heat of the summer, these eclipse hydrangeas will have plenty of shade, and that dark yellow flower on the butterfly bush will really complement the deep burgundy foliage of these hydrangeas. as I've said before, I do tend to go for the bold color combinations, really bold and striking color combinations. I have my areas, of course, that have the lighter shades, the pinks and the purples, but I think my favorites are the bold, striking color combinations. We are going to, of course, add Biotone. Biotone is expensive, but let me tell you, it is worth spending the money and adding that to your plants when you plant them. And of course, the permateal, because of the volt pressure I have around here, which is just something else. Alrighty, now I am also adding some Daddy Pete's planting mix, and I will say this: when you go to plant your plants, if you have red clay soil like I do, if you add like planting mix, you do want to mix it with the clay soil. You don't want to plant just directly into amended soil, because that's not a good idea. So you want to mix the planting soil with the dirt that you have, and plant that way. There are some, now you may get different opinions from different people. I am sharing with you what has worked well for me in my thick red clay soil in my yard that has a lot of volt pressure, and I have really found success in doing that. So you can see here how it's just a blend of all the things, which makes for some very manipulative soil, and the plant is going to be able to grow and let its roots expand. Here is a variegated iris that I picked up last year. I know this didn't get enough sun last year when this butterfly bush flushed out, and these are really tiny, which I was just going to leave them alone this year, but I may dig them up and move them. I need to get them in full sun. They have a purple bloom, but this is an example of the white and green variegation. When I can find it and add it to this garden, that is the variegated pattern that I have here. I went ahead and decided to divide up this hosta, this Hope Springs Eternal hosta, and I was able to divide it into 3 sections. So you can see it did divide nicely into 3 different sections. Hopefully it won't go into too much shock. I'll have to water it pretty thoroughly, and hopefully this year these hostas will do well. If not, it's all right. They will work on growing their roots, and we can look forward to having them in their full glory next year. Hope Spring Eternal hostas do get to be pretty big, if I'm remembering correctly. I think they do get to be about 3 feet wide or so. So this space will fill in really nicely with these hydrangeas, this Helen Vaughnstein lamb's ear, and then with these Hope Spring eternal hostas. Alrighty, there we go. Our 2 eclipse hydrangeas and then 3 Hope Spring eternal hostas. This is why the gardening takes so long. You start off with one idea and you end up doing 2 or 3 more things, because dividing that one hosta actually resulted in finding this plant, which is I know it has an orange flower, but I don't remember what it's called, but I thought I'd lost them, but here it is. So now I gotta find a home for that. And then there are the variegated irises, which now need a new home. So the idea of planting just one eclipse turned into planting, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other things not intended. It's all good. It's gardening, right? All right, on to the next. Look at those beautiful roots. Look at those roots. Woo! This plant is ready to get out of this pot for sure. I am putting these in between these hostas. Blanket flowers are full sunflowers, but I know the sun has changed because these trees are down due to the hurricane, and so what I'm hoping is that the butterfly bush, when it flushes out and grows to be 10 feet tall again, that it will shade, well, I know it will shade the Hope Spring eternal hostas and the eclipse hydrangeas, but I'm hoping that the sun from where the trees are missing will hit the border right here where these cushion flowers are. So we'll see. If it doesn't work, it's all good. We'll just move them. They just won't flower as much as they should if they're not getting enough sun. The good thing about the Hope Springs Eternal hosta is that it has some yellow variegation, and it's a lighter leaf hosta, so it can take a little more sun probably. I don't know, we'll see. We will find out what happens as the season progresses. I decided on planting these 4 salmon zinnias tucked in here between this blue salvia. Since they are shorter, 18 to 20 inches, I needed to keep them more up front than in towards the back. So I think this will be a good placement for them. These irises will be done blooming and they will get cut back. And in the meantime, these zinnias can take the show along with this blue salvia. I am going to add one more thing. This is my black coral Colocasia, can't remember which one. Colocasia, I believe, since it likes full sun, that I overwintered from last year, and I can see probably 3, maybe 4 distinct plants in here. So I'm going to divide this and plant it behind my Atlas roses. Well, it really divided nicely into 4 different clumps. Pretty much just broke apart. As you can see, it's got some really good roots for each clump. So I will get this in the ground. It's perfect because I have 5 roses, so I can window pane these 4 clumps in between those 5 roses. And there we have our 4 black coral Colocasias, elephant ears, window painting the Atlas roses. I also had picked up this clematis. It is a boulevard clematis. I believe this was a type 2, so it will bloom on old and new growth. But I'm gonna move that variegated iris again, and I think this complements the color scheme here really nicely with this pink profusion salvia, and then this morning sun Calla Lily. The zinnias will be salmon colored, and then right here will be a banana cream 2 Shasta daisy, and then this blue salvia. So I'm going to go ahead and plant that there. Clematis like their feet in the shade and their heads in the sun. So as you can see how the shadows are here, this space will work out perfectly for this clematis. It gets to be 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, so it can climb this little shepherd's hook and be just as happy as can be. And here we have our finished Sunset Grove garden bed. For the love of dirt, get outside, enjoy what nature has to offer. Until next time.